Good?
Welcome back to the Midweek Worship Connection. This is the last Midweek Worship Connection of 2021 and possibly the last Midweek Worship Connection ever. We still have not decided whether or not we're going to continue making these videos into 2022. So if the Midweek Worship Connection is something that has blessed you and you want it to continue, please let us know in the comments section below. Now, of course, if we do choose to stop doing the Midweek Worship Connection each week, we will look for a way to replace it with something even better. So we're open to suggestions for what we could replace this with as well. But for now, I wanted to wrap up the year and the Christmas season by taking one last look at the wise men who traveled from afar to visit Jesus. Throughout the Christmas season, we see yard displays of the wise men surrounding a manger holding baby Jesus. But is that an accurate depiction of who was present at the birth of Christ? No, it is not. Now, let me be clear on two things real quick. First, if you want to keep putting wise men out on display for your Christmas manger scene, do it, okay? I'm not trying to ruin your future Christmases. And second, the actual timeline is way cooler than the unbiblical one. Now, if you remember from a couple of weeks ago, we talked about how the wise men had traveled roughly 600 miles to get to Jesus. It would have taken them at least 30 days to complete the journey. And of course, we know that they were traveling with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Now, believe it or not, the frankincense would have been worth nearly 4 times the value of the gold, and the myrrh would be worth even more than that. So make no mistake about it. These were incredibly generous, lavish gifts. And if you remember from last week, we talked about how Joseph and Mary were poor. In fact, when presenting Jesus at the temple for dedication, they were unable to afford a lamb as required by the law of Moses. So instead of offering a lamb, they offered the pair of turtle doves or 2 young pigeons that a poor family would be required to offer. Now, if you put all these biblical details together, then the first thing we know for sure is that the wise men could not have visited Joseph, Mary, and baby Jesus at the manger prior to the dedication at the temple. If they had, then Joseph and Mary would have received the lavish gifts and would have easily been able to afford a lamb at the dedication. So we know that the wise men could not have arrived prior to the dedication of Jesus. Now, the traditional belief is that the wise men arrived 12 days after the birth of Jesus, which is actually where we get that Christmas carol, the 12 Days of Christmas. But according to the Bible, this cannot be the case either. When the time came for their purification, according to the law of Moses, they brought him up to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord. Luke 2, verse 22. The time of purification for Mary would be 40 days after the birth of Jesus. So we know that the wise men could not have visited Joseph and Mary and Jesus for at least 40 days after his birth. In fact, given this new timeline, the star may not have even appeared until after the birth of Jesus. Perhaps the star appeared at the very moment Jesus was born. Matthew 2, verse 1 does say, "Now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem." The star also seems to have been moving as they followed it. Check out verse 9. "After listening to King Herod, they went on their way. And behold, the star that they had seen when it rose went before them until it came to rest over the place where the child was." Matthew 2, verse 9. And where was the child? Well, we know he was born in Bethlehem, but in a stable and not in a house. Remember? There was no room for them in the house. And yet verse 11 gives us one more interesting clue as to where the wise men may have visited Jesus. "And going into the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they fell down and worshiped him. Then, opening their treasures, they offered him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh." Matthew 2, verse 11. And of course, if you know the story, the wise men avoid King Herod on their way back. Joseph is told in a dream to flee to Egypt, and Herod decides to kill all of the baby boys in Bethlehem 2 years old and younger in his attempt to destroy the one who was born King of the Jews. Crazy story, but let's recap what we know and see if there's anything we can learn. Jesus was born in Bethlehem. Wise men followed a miraculous star and traveled a great distance with expensive gifts to offer to baby Jesus and his parents. Mary and Joseph were too poor to offer a lamb at the dedication of Jesus at least 40 days after his birth. The wise men visited Jesus in a house, not a stable. Mary and Joseph fled to Egypt to escape the wrath of King Herod, and King Herod killed every male in Bethlehem 2 years old and under. Now, most likely, the miraculous star that led the wise men settled over a home in Nazareth, not over a stable in Bethlehem. The wise men likely visited Jesus somewhere between 40 days and 2 years after his birth. And the mad king ruthlessly killed all of the baby boys in a town that Jesus didn't even live in. But this is the part of the story that I want us to really cling on to. God provides exactly what we need, exactly when we need it. Joseph and Mary were too poor to offer a lamb at the dedication of Jesus, and yet somehow they are able to flee to Egypt. How is that possible? The lavish gifts of the wise men likely paid their way to Egypt. At just the right time, God provided exactly what they needed. And you know what? God is still in the business of providing exactly what we need, exactly when we need it today. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. Psalm 20, verse 7. While the mad king trusted in his own power and might, viciously lashing out in the completely wrong direction, Joseph and Mary were trusting in the one who was gently leading wise men right to their front door. Joseph and Mary were trusting in the one who provided exactly what they needed, exactly when they needed it. Which brings to mind the all-important question for each and every one of us. Who are you trusting in today?
We hope you had an amazing Christmas and are looking forward to an exciting new year. How true that God provides exactly what we need, exactly when we need it. As full-time musicianaries who live by faith and trust in God to provide, we have seen this happen in our lives over and over again. Somehow, God always seems to provide for us through the generous financial support of people who believe in this ministry and who have been blessed by this ministry. If you would like to become a Jeff Polen Music ministry partner, please let us know by going to the website at www.jeffpolenmusic.com and clicking on the Become a Ministry Partner link, or by sending an email to jeff@jeffpolenmusic.com. We hope you have enjoyed the Midweek Worship Connection throughout 2021. To send you out today, here's a song from Jeff's latest record, We Are Loved, which is available wherever you listen to or stream music. The song is called Good Shepherd.
My shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down with peace in my heart. He leads me by waters as still as his hand, gentle and just. Oh, his goodness has no end. Oh, good shepherd, lead me on. Oh, good shepherd, take me into your arms and deliver me from valleys of death. Restore my soul. sweet. Yeah.